Since the turn of the century, high school football has evolved more than during any other 20-year period in the history of the game. Safer and more modern high-tech equipment can be seen at any practice or game. And then there's the field of play itself. Traditional grass and AstroTurf have been replaced by a new and improved synthetic turf. It's allowed coaches like Alito's Tim Buchanan to spend much more time teaching than he was able to in the old days.
For all those years we had grass, I wasn't the highest paid coach in Texas, but I was the highest paid yard boy because I mowed them, I top dressed them, I aerated them, I fertilized. I pretty much did everything for about the first 15 years. It allows you to spend more time on the X's and O's. The technology that they have today and the research and development that they've done, trying to make a field safe, but then play like natural grass. It's unbelievable sitting there and talking to those guys who are developing these fields today. And you've got to make it safe so you don't get concussions, but you also have to make it safe so you don't get lower leg injury. And if it's too soft, you're going to get lower leg injury. If it's too hard, you're going to get concussion.
Toyota Stadium in Frisco stands as one of the last grass fields in the state, and it's as good as a playing surface as you'll find anywhere in Texas. That's because it's home to the FC Dallas soccer team. It's kept in pristine condition, but the grass fields that dotted the landscape in the 80s and 90s were simply too costly and time-consuming to maintain. In the early 2000s, Highland Park was the first area high school to test the waters on the turf we see today, and it quickly caught on with all area schools. From high school to college and the NFL, most of the fields you see today are met with great enthusiasm.
Well, there's a lot of studies on lower extremity injuries, right? There's a lot of studies on concussions, and I think that we know when we put a good pad in that concussions are down. You know, at Hellas here, we manage a fairly good fleet of NFL teams, and I don't have any Texas high school 2A to 6A customers ever complaining to me about injuries.
Frisco Lone Star head coach Jeff Rayburn played at Newman Smith in the mid to late 90s and remembers all too well how devastating it could be to play on AstroTurf.
You wanted the grass because that AstroTurf was pretty tough. So you get, what they call a turf burn now versus back then was completely different.
Lone Star is one of the few lucky schools that get to play at Toyota Stadium. And though it's unusual to see a grass field in today's world, Rayburn doesn't feel it gives his team a distinct advantage.
No, because both teams have to play on it. Toyota is a beautiful venue. We're so spoiled here in Frisco to play at the Star, to play at Toyota, and even Coach K Stadium. Both teams have to play on it, so it doesn't really matter.